They say justice delayed is justice denied. But what if justice doesn't come for 25 years? What if the perpetrator not only commits gruesome murders, but then gets away with it for decades before being caught? Well, it sounds unreal, but this actually happened in the heart of Los Angeles, California. Let me introduce you to the chilling tale of the Grim Sleeper. Welcome back, true crime fans. Today's episode is a gripping tale of deceit, survival, and the relentless pursuit of justice. So sit tight and prepare to be captivated. In the bleak landscape of South Central LA in the 1980s, three major issues plagued the area: rampant violence, a severe drug epidemic, and deep-rooted poverty. Amidst this turmoil, the grim specter of a serial killer lurked, waiting to strike. His targets, predominantly African-American women, who, due to societal prejudice and institutional neglect, were often overlooked and marginalized. For over a span of 4 years, between 1985 and 1988, a series of brutal murders shook the community. At least 10 women were found savagely slain, bearing the hallmarks of a single killer. These women were not merely murdered. They were systematically hunted down, sexually assaulted, shot execution style, and left to rot in secluded spots like vacant lots in derelict buildings. As the body count rose, the police seemed baffled. Each murder was different, yet similar enough to suggest a connection, but they couldn't link them all together. The press remained silent, and the authorities labeled these deaths as random acts of violence perpetrated by unknown assailants. For the grieving families and the terrified community, it was evident that a killer was on the loose. But for the police, it was just another tragic tale of urban violence. Why? These women were considered disposable. Their lives held little value in a society that had turned a blind eye to their struggles. Their absence was noticed only by those closest to them, but even their pleas for help were drowned out by the cacophony of the city. It was until 1988, when one of the women managed to survive an attack, that the police began to take notice. Her testimony provided a vital clue: the face of the assailant. Despite the trauma, she remembered, he was described as a well-built black man, driving a blue Chevrolet Malibu. But despite this lead, the police seemed unable to apprehend the man. Perhaps they did understand the gravity of the situation, or perhaps they lacked the resources or will to investigate properly. Whatever the reason, the man vanished without a trace. The case went cold, and the nightmare seemed to end. However, what the police didn't realize was that this was just the beginning. The killer had not been deterred. He continued his reign of terror, lying dormant for 14 years before resurfacing again in the early 2000s. This time, the murders were more brazen. The killer seemed emboldened, striking again in broad daylight and leaving witnesses who could have provided crucial information. Was he taunting the authorities? Did he feel invincible? The answer, chillingly, is probably yes. At this time, there was one critical difference. Technology had advanced, and with it, forensic science. A task force was assembled to investigate the new crimes. They combed through the crime scenes, searching for any trace of the killer, and when they hit a roadblock, they looked back to the past. The old evidence was re-examined with fresh eyes, and when they got a DNA test done, the results shocked them. There was no match in the system. However, there was a familiar link to a man named Christopher Franklin. He had recently been arrested for drunk driving, but the police needed more than a familiar link. They needed hard evidence. And that's when they decided to venture into the murky waters of the criminal underworld. Their target, a man who had a reputation for knowing things that the police did not. Known only as Uncle Al, this enigmatic figure was a trove of information, albeit for a price. The police were willing to pay that price. With Uncle Al's help, they tracked down Lonnie Franklin Jr., Christopher's father, and the trail led them to the sleepy suburbs of South LA, where Franklin lived in an unassuming house. What followed was a masterstroke of investigative brilliance. Aware that Franklin might be the elusive Grim Sleeper, The detectives knew they needed irrefutable evidence. They needed to catch him red-handed. As fate would have it, they didn't have to wait long. Franklin was unwittingly feeding his pizza crusts to dogs in his front yard, and this small act of kindness proved to be his undoing. Without his knowledge, the discarded crusts were collected by the police. Later, DNA analysis confirmed their suspicions. They had finally nabbed the grim sleeper. When they searched his house, they found a trove of disturbing evidence. Over 180 pictures of women, many of them unconscious or seemingly lifeless. These photographs sent shivers down the spines of the investigators. Who were these women? Had Franklin captured them for his own macabre collection? Or were they his victims? The silence of the killer was deafening. Franklin never confessed, never divulging his thoughts or motives. To the world, he remained a stoic figure, his silence amplifying the horror of his crimes. He was tried and convicted in 2016 for 10 murders and 1 attempted murder. The judge, considering the brutality of the crimes and the lasting trauma inflicted on the families, sentenced him to death. Finally, justice was served, or was it? While the conviction brought a sense of closure to some, it also raised unsettling questions. How many women had been lost to the grim sleeper's crimes? The initial investigations linked him to at least 25 murders, but the actual number could be much higher. The women who had been forgotten, their stories lost in the labyrinth of the city's indifference. As the grim sleeper spent his final years behind bars, he took his secrets to his grave, dying in 2020 without providing any answers as to why he committed these heinous acts. The enigma of his motives continues to baffle experts, leaving us to grapple with the darkness that can lurk within the human mind. Now, I'd like to ask you, what do you think was the motive behind these killings? Do you think understanding his motivation would bring any closure to this case? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. Your insights might offer a different perspective on this haunting tale. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, Whisper of Crime, where we continue to bring you the most captivating and thought-provoking stories from the world of true crime. This case serves as a stark reminder of the biases that can plague society and the urgent need for change. The grim sleeper operated for so long, not because he was clever, but because his victims were marginalized and their deaths were disregarded. It's a grim reality check for us all. We live in a world where not all lives are considered equal, where systemic prejudices can turn a deaf ear to the cries for help. The story of the grim sleeper is a testament to the strength of the human spirit. Despite the horrors they endured, the survivors and the families of the victims showed remarkable resilience. They fought for justice, for acknowledgement, and most importantly, for their loved ones. Furthermore, the determination of the police, especially the dogged persistence of certain officers, cannot be overstated. In a system that often fails the marginalized, they stood as beacons of hope. Their commitment to justice, even in the face of adversity, is a shining example for us all. This case should serve as a wake-up call. It's a call to action for each one of us. We must be vigilant, must amplify the voices of the voiceless, and ensure that every life is valued and protected. Only then can we truly honor the memory of the victims and strive to create a safer, more equitable world for all. As we bring this harrowing tale to a close, remember that the fight for justice and equality is an ongoing one. Let the story of the grim sleeper serve as a reminder of the darkness that can lurk in our midst and the courage it takes to confront it. Until next time, stay safe and keep fighting for a better world.